There is a bird outside your window right now. Maybe it is the cardinal who shows up every morning at the same time. Maybe it is the chickadee who always takes the first seed of the day. Maybe it is a bird you have been watching for months, one you have quietly come to think of as yours. And here is what you probably do not know. That bird has been watching you back, not in the casual, incidental way that wild animals notice nearby movement. It's not simply detecting that a large creature is present. That bird knows your face. It has memorized the way you move. It knows the difference between you and every other human being who has ever come near its territory. And it has been building a file on you, quietly, without you ever knowing, since the first day you appeared at that feeder. What is in that file is the subject of this video. Most people who feed backyard birds think of themselves as the observer. You are the one with the binoculars. You are the one keeping the notebook. You are the one watching, recording, learning. The birds are the subjects, wild, beautiful, oblivious to your attention. They come to your feeder because you put food there, and they leave without a second thought about who you are. That is the relationship most people imagine. It is almost entirely wrong. The truth, confirmed by decades of field research, behavioral studies, and some genuinely astonishing laboratory experiments, is that many of the birds visiting your yard are running what amounts to a continuous intelligence gathering operation on the humans in their environment. They are assessing you, categorizing you, updating their assessment every time they see you, and storing what they learn in a memory system that, for certain kinds of information, outperforms human memory in both accuracy and duration. Scientists have known for years that certain bird species, crows, ravens, magpies, jays, possess remarkable cognitive abilities. Their intelligence has been documented, tested, studied, and publicized widely. But what the research of the past decade has revealed is that these abilities are not limited to the famously clever corvid family. They extend in different forms and to different degrees across a surprisingly wide range of species, including the species most likely visiting your backyard right now. The house sparrow outside your window, the mourning dove on your fence, the tufted titmouse cycling through your sunflower seeds. It's the northern cardinal who arrives at the same branch every morning. These birds know things about you. This video is going to tell you exactly what those things are, how they learn them, why they remember them, and what that knowledge means for the relationship between you and the birds in your yard. By the end, you will never look at your feeder the same way again. Let us start with the thing that sounds most impossible. Your birds can recognize your face, not your silhouette, not your general size or movement pattern, though those matter too, and we will get to them, your actual face. It's the specific arrangement of features that makes you you and not the person next door. The evidence for this comes from a series of experiments conducted at the University of Washington and published in the journal Animal Cognition in 2011. The researchers focused on American crows, a species common in urban and suburban environments across North America. They wanted to know whether crows could distinguish between individual human faces, and more importantly, whether they could retain that distinction over time. The experimental design was elegant. Researchers wore specific rubber masks. The face of a caveman was the primary test mask, while trapping and banding wild crows. Trapping is stressful for birds, and the crows responded to it with alarm calls and aggressive behavior directed at the masked researchers. Then, over the following months and years, researchers wearing the same mask walked through crow territories without doing anything threatening at all, just walking, just existing. The crows remembered. Even years after the original trapping event, crows would react to the caveman mask with alarm calls and dive-bombing behavior. They would recruit other crows to mob the masked person. They would track the masked individual through their territory. Meanwhile, the same researchers walking through the same territories without the mask received no such attention. The crows were not reacting to a person. They were reacting to a specific face. But here is where the experiment became genuinely extraordinary. It's young crows who had never been trapped, birds who had no personal experience of the masked researcher, also mobbed the caveman mask. They had learned to identify the threatening face from the adults around them. The recognition had been transmitted socially. A specific human face had entered the cultural knowledge of a local crow population passed from parent to offspring, maintained across generations. One mask, one person, one stressful interaction, and the information persisted, spreading through the crow community, maintained for years after the original event. Now, crows are exceptional, even among birds. We will come to your specific backyard species shortly, but the crow research established something fundamental. Birds are not just detecting human presence, they are processing individual human identity, and they are doing it through facial recognition, the same mechanism humans use to tell each other apart. The question is, how? How does a brain the size of a walnut accomplish something that requires significant cognitive resources, even in our much larger primate brains? To understand how birds recognize faces, you have to understand how birds see. And when you understand how birds see, you will realize that your birds are looking at a version of you that you have never seen yourself. A version of you that contains information invisible to human eyes. A version of you that is, in certain respects, more detailed and more information-rich than anything you could observe. Birds are tetrachromats. Human beings have 3 types of color-sensitive cone cells in our eyes, giving us trichromatic vision. We see the world in combinations of red, green, and blue. The entire range of human color experience, every sunset, every painting, every subtlety of skin tone and expression is built from those 3 channels. Birds have 4. Their 4th cone type is sensitive to ultraviolet light, wavelengths completely invisible to human eyes. When a bird looks at you, it sees everything you see: your skin, your hair, your clothes, the expression on your face, plus an entire additional layer of information that is simply not available to human perception. Human skin reflects ultraviolet light in patterns that vary between individuals. These UV patterns are invisible to us, but visible to birds
vision,
with the clarity and distinctiveness
really
of the fingerprint. The color of your clothing in ultraviolet, the specific reflectance patterns of your skin, the UV signature of your hair. All of these are additional identifying channels available to a bird looking at you. Beyond color, birds have a significantly wider visual field than humans. Many songbirds have eyes positioned on the sides of their head, giving them nearly 360-degree visual coverage. A chickadee at your feeder can watch you through the kitchen window behind it while simultaneously monitoring the hawk circling overhead and the movement in the hedge to its left. So you think the bird is focused on the seeds. The bird is focused on everything. Birds also have a much higher flicker fusion rate than humans. They process visual information faster. Where we see smooth motion, birds see individual frames. The bird watching you approach the feeder is processing your gait, your posture, the rhythm of your movement, the specific way you carry your body, all at a resolution and speed that exceeds human visual processing. And birds have a region of the eye called the fovea, the area of sharpest focus, that in many species is significantly more densely packed with photoreceptors than the human fovea. Some birds have 2 foveas, one for lateral vision and one for forward focus. The visual acuity in a bird's foveal region can exceed human 20/20 vision. What all of this means is that when your birds look at you, they are not seeing a blurry approximation of a human. They are seeing a high-resolution, ultraviolet-enhanced, motion-detailed portrait of a specific individual. They have access to identifying information about you that you do not have about yourself. Your face, in ultraviolet light, is as unique to your birds as your fingerprint. They learned it long before you knew they were looking. So birds can see you in extraordinary detail. But what specifically have they learned about you, the person standing at this particular feeder in this particular yard? The answer is more comprehensive than most people expect. The first thing your birds assessed was your threat level. This happened before they ever trusted your feeder, before they came within landing distance of you. They watched you from a safe distance and ran a continuous behavioral analysis. How do you move? Predators move differently from non-predators. A cat approaches in a low, fluid crouch. A hawk strikes from above with folded wings. A human who has learned to move slowly and predictably around birds creates a movement signature that birds quickly learn to file as non-threatening. Research from the University of Exeter, published in the journal Proceedings of the Royal Society B, found that birds are extraordinarily sensitive to the direction of Human gaze. A human looking directly at a bird triggers a flight response at greater distances than a human looking away. Birds can read the direction of human eye contact even from significant distances. They know when you are watching them, and they adjust their behavior accordingly. But here is what is fascinating. With repeated exposure, birds update this response based on outcome. So if you have spent months near your feeder without ever doing anything threatening, your birds have learned that direct eye contact from you specifically is not dangerous. They have associated your face, your gaze, your movement pattern with a consistent experience of safety. The threat response has been downregulated for you as an individual while remaining fully active for strangers. This is not just habituation, the general calming that happens when any animal becomes accustomed to a stimulus. This is individual recognition plus outcome learning. Your birds are calmer near you than near any other human being because they have a specific data record for you, built from every interaction you've had with them, telling them that you specifically are safe. The second thing they learned about you is your schedule. Birds are creatures of precise biological timing. They're internal clocks, driven by circadian rhythms that are among the most accurate biological timekeeping systems in nature, are calibrated to environmental cues, light levels, temperature, food availability, and for birds around human habitation, human behavior patterns. Your birds know when you typically fill the feeder. They know when you usually leave for work. They know what it means when you open the back door in the morning, whether that typically means a refill is coming or not. A study from the University of Cambridge found that garden birds in areas of consistent human activity showed up at feeders in anticipation of filling times, suggesting they had learned to predict human behavior from pattern recognition. The third thing they learned is what you look like in different contexts. You do not look the same to your birds every day. Different clothes, different hats, different body language. Early research assumed this variability would confuse individual recognition. It does not, because bird recognition is multimodal. They are simultaneously processing your face, your movement pattern, your general size and shape, your voice, and contextual cues about where you appear and when. Any one of these channels might be ambiguous on its own. Together, they form a robust identification signature that is difficult to confuse even when individual elements change. Your birds recognized you in your winter coat the first time you wore it. They recognized you the first time you came to the feeder with wet hair. They recognized you when you moved more slowly because you were tired or more quickly because you were running late. They had enough data about you from enough different angles and contexts that individual variable changes did not disrupt the overall pattern match. So you have, without realizing it, built a detailed biometric profile in the memory of every bird that has spent significant time in your yard. How long do they remember? This is the question that surprises people most, because the answer, particularly for certain types of memory, is for the rest of their lives. Bird memory is not a single system. Like human memory, it is organized into multiple subsystems that serve different functions and have different retention properties. Understanding these subsystems helps explain why your birds remember some things about you for years, while other information seems to reset more quickly. The first and most relevant system is episodic-like memory, the ability to remember specific events, the what and where and when of individual experiences. This type of memory was long thought to be unique to humans, or at most to great apes. The idea was that only cognitively advanced mammals, with sufficient self-awareness to place themselves in time, could form genuine episodic memories. Then came a study by Nicola Clayton at the University of Cambridge, working with western scrub jays, a corvid species related to the crows and blue jays that visit many North American backyards. Clayton showed that scrub jays could remember not just where they had hidden food, but what type of food was hidden there and when they had hidden it. They could integrate these three components, what, where, when, to make decisions about which caches to return to first. This is episodic-like memory. The jay did not just remember that food was somewhere. It remembered a specific event, the hiding of a specific food, at a specific location, at a specific time. The three-way integration is exactly what characterizes human episodic memory. Your birds have this system. and the events they are filing in it include their interactions with you. The day you first appeared at your feeder, the time you walked too quickly past the window and they scattered from the branches, the morning you came out earlier than usual and they were not yet there. These are not just behavioral statistics being averaged over time. They are individual events tagged with contextual information stored in a memory system capable of retaining them for years. The second relevant system is semantic-like memory, the accumulated general knowledge built from many experiences. This is where your threat assessment lives. So your birds have not just remembered individual interactions with you. They have formed a general model of you, a summary profile that answers questions like, is this person dangerous? Does this person predict food? Does this person always come alone? This model is constantly updated by new experiences, but retains its core structure over long periods. The third system is spatial memory, and for certain bird species, it is extraordinary. Clark's nutcrackers, mountain birds related to crows and jays, cache seeds for winter in up to 33,000 separate hiding spots. They retrieve up to 90% of those caches months later, navigating by spatial memory alone through snowscapes that have completely erased any visual land marked. Their hippocampus, the brain region responsible for spatial memory in all vertebrates, is significantly larger than that of bird species that do not cache. So your feeder visiting species have versions of this same spatial memory. They have a detailed mental map of your yard. They know every branch, every shadow, every clear line of sight to every window. They know exactly where you typically stand when you refill the feeder, where you usually pause to watch them, which corners of the yard you never visit. So your position in their spatial map is as specific and fixed as the location of their favorite perch. The fourth system is social memory, the tracking of individual identities and relationships. This system, shared with primates and a few other cognitively sophisticated animals, allows birds to maintain distinct profiles for different individuals, updating each file independently based on that individual's specific behavior. In a mixed species flock visiting your feeder, every individual bird has its own social memory profile of you. The dominant cardinal who arrived first and watched you most has the most complete profile. The newer arrivals have less data. Each profile is independent, updated by that bird's specific experiences with you, not averaged with the experiences of others. So you have not been building a relationship with birds in general. You have been building individual relationships with specific birds, each one holding their own memory of who you are. So now we have to talk about crows. While every revelation in this video applies across many backyard species, crows represent the most extreme, most documented, most scientifically verified example of what birds can know and remember about specific humans. And understanding what crows are capable of tells you something important about what the less obviously intelligent birds in your yard may also be doing in quieter, less visible ways. So we have already discussed the University of Washington mask study, the caveman mask that crows associated with threat and remembered for years, teaching their offspring to recognize and react to the same face. But that research, led by Professor John Marsluff, went further than most people realize. In follow-up experiments, Marsluff and his team had volunteers walk through crow territories wearing either a dangerous face mask associated with previous trapping or a neutral face mask. They tracked crow behavior over years. The crows did not just remember the dangerous face, they held grudges. The intensity of their mobbing behavior increased over time rather than decreasing. More crows participated in mobbing the dangerous face in later years than in earlier years, because new birds had been recruited into the knowledge network. Meanwhile, crows recognized the neutral face as non-threatening and largely ignored it. Marsluff published a follow-up study testing how crows responded to the dangerous face when the masked person was accompanied by an authority figure, someone in the police uniform. The crows mobbed the dangerous face even in this context, suggesting they were assessing the specific individual rather than deferring to social hierarchies or context. And then the researchers tried something that bordered on uncanny. They had people wearing the dangerous mask walk through crow territories while also wearing a full-body disguise, a different hat, different clothes, different posture cues. The crows still recognize the face. This was not pattern matching on silhouettes or general shape. This was pure facial recognition, operating independently of every other visual cue. Crows in Seattle, Washington, have been documented recognizing the same individual researcher for over a decade. Marzluff himself, who wore a dangerous mask during crow trapping early in his career, is regularly scolded by Seattle crows who have never met him, but have learned his face from the crows who have. His face is in the cultural memory of the Seattle crow population. Let that sink in for a moment. The wild bird, living its life in urban trees, navigating predators and weather and competition for food, has maintained a specific memory of a specific human's face for over 10 years and transmitted that memory socially to birds that were not yet alive when the original event occurred. The crow community has a permanent record of who John Marzluff is and what he did. Now, your backyard crows, if you have them, are running the same cognitive system. Every interaction you have had with them has been filed, assessed, and potentially communicated to others. The crow who watches you from the fence is not just a bird looking for food. It is an active observer building and updating a profile on you that it will carry for the rest of its life. And it is not alone in doing so. The crow research gets the most attention because crows are charismatic, because the experiments were dramatic, and because the findings were striking enough to generate widespread media coverage. But there is a quieter, equally compelling body of research on the smaller birds that most people are more likely to have in their backyards. Sparrows, titmice, chickadees, finches, cardinals. These birds are not crows. Their cognitive architecture is different, their social structures are different, and their relationship with specific humans is likely different in important ways. But the research suggests that individual recognition and contextual memory are not exclusive to corvids. A study published in the journal Animal Behavior tested whether house sparrows, one of the most common backyard birds in the world, could distinguish between individual humans based on appearance. The researchers exposed captive house sparrows to two differently dressed humans, one of whom provided food and one of whom did not. The sparrows quickly learned to approach the food-providing human preferentially when the humans swapped clothing, so the food provider was now dressed like the non-provider and vice versa. The sparrows initially followed the clothing cue, but within a short series of trials, shifted back to recognizing the individual regardless of outfit. They were recognizing the person, not the clothes. It's a separate study on great tits, a European species closely related to the North American chickadees that visit many backyards, tested whether individual birds could learn the identities of specific humans and calibrate their behavior accordingly. The results showed that great tits exposed to a consistent human observer became significantly less alert, less likely to flush, and more likely to continue feeding normally in that person's presence compared to an unfamiliar human. Importantly, the calmer response was specific to the familiar individual. The birds did not generalize their reduced alarm to other humans, even those of similar size and appearance. They had built a specific model of one specific person and filed it separately from their general model of humans. Research on black-capped chickadees, one of the most beloved feeder visitors in North America, has revealed that these birds maintain distinct alarm call vocabularies for different types of threats, and that they calibrate the urgency of their calls based on the specific predator or threat identified. This kind of fine-grained, individually calibrated response system requires individual identification as a prerequisite. So you cannot calibrate your response to a specific individual unless you can identify that individual. Cardinals, too, show evidence of individual human recognition. In territories where cardinals have been feeding for multiple seasons with consistent human observers, they demonstrate measurably shorter flight initiation distances, the distance at which a bird decides to flee from an approaching human, with familiar observers than with unfamiliar ones. They will allow you to come closer than they will allow a stranger. They have learned specifically that you are not a threat, and they apply that learning individually rather than generically. The smaller birds in your yard may not have the same dramatic social transmission of facial recognition demonstrated by crows. They may not hold grudges with the same intensity or communicate individual human identities to their offspring with the same reliability. But they are watching you. They are learning you. They are building an internal model of who you are, and they are using that model every time they decide whether to stay or flee, whether to call an alarm or continue feeding, whether to approach or maintain distance. Every bird that spends significant time at your feeder knows you. It is not just your face. Avian individual recognition is multimodal. Birds are integrating information from multiple sensory channels simultaneously. And one of the most powerful of those channels, often underestimated by people who think of bird recognition as primarily visual, is sound. Birds are audio specialists in ways that make human hearing seem primitive by comparison. They can discriminate between sounds that differ by fractions of milliseconds. They can identify individual calls from within a flock of hundreds. Many species can hear frequencies well outside the human auditory range, and they apply this acoustic precision to the problem of individual identification with the same rigor they apply to visual recognition. Every person has a unique voice print, a specific combination of frequency patterns, rhythm, breathiness, and tonal quality that is as distinctive as a fingerprint. We recognize people by voice instinctively. So do birds. A study published in the journal Poisson found that magpies, corvids closely related to crows and jays, could distinguish between the voice of familiar and unfamiliar humans and calibrated their responses accordingly. Birds showed measurably lower stress responses to familiar human voices than to unfamiliar ones, even when the familiar voices were presented through speakers in the absence of any visual cues.